Countless scarlet light spots slowly condensed, followed by a sound that bloomed around, scattered on the floor, as if dissipating like little sparks. Like magic, Mubai's figure appeared out of nowhere. Okay. As soon as he appeared and his vision was restored, Mubai was slightly taken aback. See you. In front of the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. Loli's figure floated in the air, and the huge nightgown looked a little fat on her body. Her hair was unkempt, as if she had just woken up. Dragon. Wife. As soon as Mubai exited, he met Tornado's slightly turned eyes. The deep-set eyes, the balls of the eyes were straight, and when he saw Mubai, he quickly changed his mouth. Wow. Overcoming the superpower like gravity, the next moment has already plunged into Bai's arms. With a smile on the corner of his mouth, Tornado looked up at Mubai. Welcome back, Magic Knight. Knowing that it was his wife's ridicule, Mubai's mouth still evoked a smile. Silly roe dear. While speaking, he stretched out his hand on the head of the dragon roll, rubbed his unkempt hair, and tangled his hair in a soft mess. However, the eyes on the Tornado, the reddish face, the sleepy eyes that just woke up, the white collarbone exposed by the fat nightgown. Gudong. Mubai swallowed and smiled. Wife. The hand holding the Tornado is already dishonest. Screw you. The Tornado slapped Mubai's hand off. However, a brain drilled into the quilt again. The fat quilt covered the small head, revealing a pair of thief-looking eyes, as if to say that the officials are coming soon. Mubai is of course no more polite. The 5 commanders moved, and the clothes on his body turned into a streamer and dissipated. Uncover the quilt. 4 eyes facing each other. The 2 sides silently approached each other. Another sultry sound. Event is over. Toki. In the extreme breaking, the 2 have returned to the Tornado Villa. Opened the car door. Tornado stepped out of the car gracefully. The figure had already floated up, and flew towards the villa in front of him by himself. And white. After getting off the car, I looked at the familiar villa in front of me, and I felt a different feeling in my heart. The first sign-in occurred in this villa. Chaos magic. A superpower that is only seen in comics or movies, but did not expect to fully integrate itself. With the step-by-step ability to unlock the power of chaos magic gradually becomes apparent. In the setting of the Marvel Universe, chaos magic is carried by the Chaos Demon God, meaning that the soul fragments are integrated into Wanda's soul. So Wanda naturally became the Chaos Witch. In the setting of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it is the powerful power of the Mind Gem that unlocks Wanda's soul ability. Similar to the X gene in mutants being activated. Wanda with this incredible super magic, the reason why he can control all the power of the mind and listen to the mind is the pure energy of the Mind Gem. Reach out a little. A mass of scarlet energy slowly condensed in the palm of the hand, like sitting on pins and needles, thorns like the back. The constantly changing little bits are sharp, and the pure scarlet color like mercury looks coquettish and strange, and this water flow has the ability to gather and not disperse. The energy contained in it can even raise the surrounding to the ground in an instant. Then he looked up at the villa in front of him. And this is the origin of the story, is the beginning of this story. Ah. He sighed slightly, and now he Longjuan is justified. Maybe, next. This is the real critical moment. Hopefully, it's not too late. The corner of Mubai's mouth twitched into a smile. An extremely bold idea came to mind. At this time. Why are you standing still? The sound of a tornado came from the villa. I'm coming. Mubai quickly replied. The perfect combination of such an angelic face and Loli's figure has become the most dragon-like existence unknowingly. Mubai shook his head and smiled bitterly. Maybe he was born a wife slave. However, such a wife is really worth it. Back to the villa, the tornado takes the lead to wash up. The door was slammed shut, and Mubai was warned not to enter. Mysteriously used superpowers all around the room, covering up all the memories and paintings of Mubai, including the purchased manga peripherals and anime dolls. Of course, Mubai already knew these things. However, I still came to the living room to wait quietly and turned on the TV. A war correspondent in a red jacket with a microphone is reporting. It can be seen that the magic knights and mechanical cyborgs once again save the masses in peril. I didn't expect the monster's attack to come so quickly, and the level of the champion has also undergone a qualitative change this time. Maybe in the future the level of weirdos may be raised again. But we have to believe that there are heroes, and all the masses will never be in danger. Hero, 6666. Brainless fans, add 1 to brainless fans. There are countless bullet screens floating on the reports of the war reporters, and the people watching are dazzled. Mu Bai pursed his lips slightly. As a personal experiencer, he was not interested in such news and changed channels at will. Soon, a new report caught Mu Bai's attention. The martial arts tournament will be held in a week. How to sign up is as follows. All those who are proficient in martial arts can participate. Of course, because of the special case of the last martial arts conference, masks are not allowed to cover up the face at this conference. Please participate widely. Let the people realize the importance of martial arts. Mu Bai was slightly startled. Martial arts conference. Touching his chin, he frowned slightly. A brand new memory emerged in my mind. The martial arts convention in the world of One Punch Man seems to come from the second season, and it will also introduce more characters to deeply analyze the background of this world. Including previous bosses will also have excellent explanations. But didn't expect. Come so fast. Looking slightly sideways, Mu Bai also quickly noticed the precautions. The first is that headgear is not allowed. Cough cough cough. Mu Bai smiled wryly. A whole martial arts conference has completely become the way of the hungry wolf, but this has also successfully made the wolf one of the first-line super criminals, since the content of the second season has appeared. That new sign-in starts immediately. In his eyes, a touch of blue slowly crossed. A week goes by in a hurry. However, this week, something very remarkable happened. Villa. As usual. The angel's appearance matched the figure of Loli. The fine right leg was placed on the left leg, the small head fell into Mu Bai's arms, and a pair of bright big eyes. Looking at the news and ordinary TV programs in front of me, some lack of interest. Shaking your thighs intentionally or unintentionally means it's boring. Mu Bai changes channels at will. At this time, we can see the prototype of the building, which has gradually emerged, who did it and what the purpose is, but it is currently unknown. New reports appear. A young female reporter with a pair of eyebrows. The flaming red lips parted lightly, and between the mouth, as if exhaling like a blue, the skilled lines were spoken with meticulous affection. Mu Bai's eyes moved slightly. Finally understand why no one watches sports and fitness shows, always ask some beautiful women to interview. It actually has this meaning. However, hearing the content of the broadcast, the tornado on the side suddenly said excitedly. Husband, husband. It's this, it's this. She sat up exaggeratedly, with an excited look, pointing at the news on the TV with one hand, and turned her head to Mu Bai with an excited look. Okay. Mu Bai was helpless. However, looking at the reports in the news, the corners of his mouth subconsciously evoked a slight smile. The tornado came on a whim and didn't pay attention. Just listen to the news and keep going. Including at present, the Hero Association and even the known S-class heroes have not been able to know the true face of this building. Some people speculate that this is a masterpiece of aliens, just like the pyramids of India. They are all things without owners, and even people can't match. At this point, the beautiful host seems to be coming to Xingza. There was also a smile on his unsmiling face, and he moved his steps, slightly extending his right hand sideways and pointing to the broadcast video next to him. Between the ordinary versions have changed, and brief video material has appeared. The beauty host went on to report, mysterious buildings appeared out of thin air, but a layer of strong internal and external airflow that was difficult to break through was formed outside. This airflow has the combined effect of the inner wall and the outer wall, including the ability of the tornado to break through. But we've got some inside information. It was an honor to witness the emergence of this building. Chonglo Yuyu, the city above the sky, is like a miracle. Pyramids, known as the world's most famous buildings, are like building blocks in their eyes. And this building, I believe, will appear in the sky of all cities in the near future. During the speech, the corner of the beautiful host's mouth showed a confident smile. Among the previous world-class reviews, only the pyramid was shortlisted for the top building, and it was as ingenious as it was ingenious. And now, in the sky above the city, there are again magical buildings that are even capable of crushing the so-called pyramids. Give it completely, everyone is big and has a long face. And with the change of video data, Blueprint has also become a huge floating city. Through the reverse airflow inside and out, under the transparent frame like a dome, you can see the basic appearance of the huge city. But you can only see part of it. The mist floating in the air does not disperse for a long time, condensing on the island like a fairy. The water of the big river is boundless, with clear water and blue sky. Under the polymerization of sunlight, the lake surface appears sparkling. The blooming little lotus is like a fairy coming, and the lotus leaves are green. Who can pick lotus? And this is just the periphery of the island, like a fairyland, an island like a whole floating city, just like the legendary Penglai fairyland. The old-fashioned atmosphere is blowing, and at the same time, Duanan was sitting in front of the TV, but Bang Ji-yu suddenly stood up, shaking his hands, his voice trembling slightly. It's unimaginable. It's exactly the same as the Penglai wonderland described by the East. To be able to see such a scene in this life is simply dead without regrets. Master, Teabasket was slightly taken aback. But Bongu didn't say much. The beating eyes showed how excited his heart was at this time. This piece of video material was naturally spread by the Hero Association, including the senior management of the Hero Association. At this time, they are also carefully looking at the information files in front of them. Standing on the highest podium, the new beautiful commander. The slender thighs, entwined with black silk, and the calves without any fat look very attractive. But the passing staff didn't dare to take a second look. Because this is the Hero Association, the most rigorous and highly educated commander in history. Rao is such a powerful woman. Seeing the information in front of her cannot help but sprouting eyebrows, lips showing a smile. What on earth is he going to do? Ruo muttered to himself. Obviously, she seemed to know something about the information in front of her. And this, a fairy-like scene, a huge city floating in the air, lakes and islands, and even more places that have not been explored. Everything is showing. If this is not a conspiracy, then this is an epic-making building, like an alien miracle. And obviously, if it is that person, no one can guess. Tornado is equally exciting. Looking at the video material of the film and television introduction in front of me, how shocked was it when I saw the scene where I used superpowers to forcibly break through the barrier in midair. What a shock then. Just like the island in the dream, it affects almost everyone's heart. Including all the masses in front of the TV. Including all existences that received first-hand information. No, you must find a chance to see this magical fairyland in the sky. I don't know who it came from. If it didn't come to invade the Earth, that would be great. It's a pity that there is no way to witness it in person. I really hope this amazing building will be completed soon. Countless people were immersed in the sea of mouth. A new internet popularity even surpassed all the comics serialized by Mubai. This is also the first time that Mubai's comics have been serialized, and the popularity has been compared. Even the legendary magic is not as attractive as the fairyland in front of you. And another place. Crunch. Buckling his nose, the bald-headed Demon King calmly flicked his booger into the trash can, and then gave a gift of toilet paper. Genos, and this plus. Duh. Sure enough, hear the words. Genos, who was using a kitchen knife in the kitchen, was shocked, and nodded seriously. Teacher, there is indeed such a place. But now it suddenly appeared within 2 days, I suspect. Having said that, he put down the kitchen knife and walked out of the kitchen. Saitama was slightly taken aback by this extremely serious look. Saw right away. Genos pointed out, it's God's work. Puff. Saitama's head hit the ground with a big question mark. What? After working on it for a long time, this is what I want to say. Yes indeed. Genos nodded lightly, and raised his arms with one hand. Under the chin, in a detective posture. Because only God can create such a perfect place, and I have also found in many materials that God can be so powerful. If there is a soundtrack at this time, it will definitely be. There is only one truth. Okay, let's keep cooking. Saitama had black lines all over his head, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Ah. Yes. Genos suddenly realized, and trotted all the way into the kitchen again. Da. The kitchen knife was swung, and countless dishes flew up and down, looking like miscellaneous items. Looking at Genos' appearance, Saitama also had a headache. Almost all the training that I taught this guy before has been completed, and now, what excuse can I use to prevaricate it? It has always been made up casually, and even if it is made up now, it will never come out. Crunch. Gently scratching his head, Saitama looked helpless. It would be nice if there were Mubai's brains to think about. The day passed by in a hurry. In addition to being together with the tornado, it is the same. I don't know what Fubuki is doing lately, muttered softly. What? Tornado yawned, revealing sleepy eyes, and finally floated up. Saint. Bedroom. But just 2 steps away, she turned her head and asked. Need work tonight too? Obviously, this look is towards Bai, and there is a little worry in his eyes. Because just a few days ago, Bai Gangmu clarified that the recent creation seems to have encountered a bottleneck, and inspiration can only erupt in the dead of night. For this reason, the tornado is also very helpless. Because of my favorite manga, the serialization is almost over. Thinking this is something Mu Bai likes, Tornado gives huge support. But, worried now. The movement of drinking water stopped slightly, and Bai nodded lightly. The new comic is being created, but it seems that the Blade of Ghost Slayer is almost finished. I have lost my mind for a while. With black pupils, he looked at the tornado. His face was calm, and he turned to a smile. Don't worry, it will be resolved soon. After all, this matter is not a concern for a powerful magic knight. Crunch. He stretched out his right hand and clenched his fist slightly, and a trace of blood red slowly emerged. Tornado was helpless and had to nod lightly. Now that Mu Bai has said so, it would be good to give him the greatest support. Turn around, bedroom. The door closed a little. And this time, Mu Bai, who had been watching the TV, looked away. He stood up slowly, tiptoed his right hand, and waved the chaotic magic world, wrapping the whole body with countless scarlet colors condensing, emitting a little scarlet light. Today's magical strength has already fully inherited the Scarlet Witch in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The powerful can even turn reality, of course on a huge scale. But with hands and feet, it seems that there is some hidden secret. Next moment, the scarlet light dissipated. And Bai also disappeared in place, and he didn't notice. In the corner, a pair of deep eyes stared at this. At the same time, 10,000 meters high in the sky. Not affected by the scarlet color, it instantly condenses, and a little human shape emerges. And the position of the eyes is in front of the huge building created by the hand of God in the news. Mu Bai put his right hand behind him, his figure moved forward and slowly floated up. Brush brush, and the sharp two-way airflow in front of you. But as if welcoming the master, he opened a small closed mouth. The scarlet figure burrowed in a flash. Everything was like a dream, as if it had never happened. The jaw-dropping and wonderful sight did not arouse much concern to Mu Bai. He seemed to have been inspired by some sort of inspiration and walked straight towards the innermost side of the spectacle. It was a huge stone gate with strange patterns engraved on the top. The presentation of this style reminded Mu Bai of Longmen Broken. It's really exaggerated. You want to cut yourself off. It seems that the guy hiding inside is definitely not a good kind. After muttering to himself, Mu Bai mobilized chaos magic and set up a protective wall around him to prevent anything from happening. After fully completing everything, this cautious guy walked into the back of Shimon as. The dark corridor is covered with moss, and the two sides of the walls are inlaid with various rare treasures. The sudden and treacherous visual impact made Mu Bai's heart shiver, but since he had already achieved this, it was impossible for him to give up halfway. The brave Mu Bai finally overcomes the fear of the unknown. After passing through the corridor, he finally met the owner of this aerial building. Dao Huayan's back completely attracted Mu Bai's eyes. The other party didn't even do any activities. This guy fell into a sluggish state. You finally came. The man slowly made a voice. His voice was low and gentle, as if he had just experienced a battle, or had comprehended the truth of the world. You know I'm coming over? Mu Bai asked suspiciously, and his heart of precaution also emerged spontaneously. Of course, otherwise I wouldn't park this ark here. The man turned around and said the name of the building. Judging from his naming, this building seems to have a special meaning. However, compared to the name, what really surprised Bai was the man's appearance. The opponent's body is like a rock, and in the firm eyes, it gives people an irresistible feeling. Even if he didn't do anything to show his strength, just relying on his aura was enough to make Mu Bai realize the gap between them. Who are you? Mu Bai asked boldly, and made plans to retreat. My name is Blasting, you should know my identity, right? The man's response made Mu Bai suddenly dumbfounded. The superheroes who have always existed in people's mouths, did not expect to stand in front of them now. But with Mu Bai's wisdom, he was surprised without completely losing his rationality. In order to find out whether the other party was lying to him, Mu Bai wanted to confirm it. You said you were a bomber, do you have any evidence? If I say yes, how can you verify it? The lore-style response left Mu Bai speechless. To be honest, of course he has no way to verify it, after all, he has never seen the true face of Blasting. But just when the situation was a little embarrassing, the man who claimed to be exploding made a surprising statement again. Mu Bai, I know that you are a traveler, and I, like you, have traveled to this place as early as 20 years ago. What? Mu Bai's eyes widened, completely unable to believe the words of the man in front of him. But he was extremely sensitive to the word traverser. Complicated emotions began to sway Mu Bai's thoughts. He believed that the other party was an extremely dangerous existence and planned to stop communicating with the other party. However, Mu Bai's thoughts were completely guessed by blasting. He immediately manipulated the surrounding environment and turned it into a completely sealed space. Seeing this situation emerge, Mu Bai also put down the last cover. He took a fighting stance and covered his body with crimson chaotic magic. What do you want to do? Mu Bai's eyes were sharp, and his tone was full of hostility. I have no ill intentions. The reason why I do this is to tell you that the call between us is absolutely safe. After responding to Bai, Blasting took the initiative to show his favor again, and in order to increase his persuasion, he even took the initiative to show his whole cards. This is my system, it must be similar to yours, right? When the familiar page appeared in Mu Bai's eyes, the cautious guy finally saw the status quo. He immediately lifted his defenses and stared at the man in front of him. It turns out that you is really a transmigrator. I thought I was the only one in this world. Haha, in the past few months, I have been thinking so. When I felt your aura, it really scared me. The explosive answer revealed some information, but for the current Mu Bai, it did not have any effect. Compared with those trivial feelings, what Mu Bai wanted to know most at this time was the purpose of the other party. Since you said you were a bomber, then I'll trust you for now. But you took the initiative to lead me here, not just to show my identity, right? Haha, it really is a young hero, you can see my thoughts at once. To be honest, I came here to tell you something very important. At this moment, the eyes of the explosion suddenly changed, and the gloomy and dignified expression made Mu Bai feel the chills. Young man, in the coming days, there will be cracks in time and space, and the inevitable catastrophe will come. The ark I am building now will become the last home of mankind. The main purpose of my trip is to hope that you will be able to form a team capable of resisting the disaster before the crisis comes, so that I will have sufficient time to upgrade the scale of this building. The explosive narrative content left Mu Bai stunned. He didn't know how to respond for a while. If the other party hadn't reminded him, I'm afraid this guy's state would last until noon. Wait a minute. These things you said are all your subjective assumptions? Mu Bai asked hesitantly. No, this is my predictive ability, just like your chaos magic. It is very difficult for me to restrain what will happen in the future, but if you join in, then the law of cause and effect may change. In order to make Mu Bai have a more intuitive feeling, Blasting used his abilities. When a white light flashed by, the two of them traveled to a certain time and space in the future in the state of spiritual bodies. It was a barren ruin, and strange monsters were scattered everywhere. And it is worth noting that those grotesque guys are definitely not the well-known group of weirdos, but a group of alien creatures. Is this still Earth? Mu Bai was a little surprised. From the picture in front of him, the Earth has fallen. But the reason that really surprised him was not just as simple as his current feelings. You must know that in the defense system of the Earth, there is also a powerful hero guild, not to mention the perverted existence of Saitama. Mu Bai's wife Tornado alone is enough to handle the disaster of the god level. The scene in front of him is obviously telling Mu Bai that in the future, there will be a crisis that even Saitama can't solve. Young man, you don't have to be confused. This is the Earth. Although I have tried various methods, I still cannot change the result. As soon as the blasting words were finished, the voyage was started again, and Mu Bai's body automatically followed each other until they came to a familiar place. Tornado's Villa Estate. The building engraved in the Mu Bai DNA has now become dilapidated. With the presentation of that scene, Mu Bai's heart was also vaguely worried. Tornado. How's the tornado? Mu Bai, who suddenly had bad news in his heart, asked aloud, and became more and more emotional, which formed a huge contrast with the initial cautiousness. On the other hand, the hero who has witnessed this scene countless times has become a little numb. He drives the passage of time and space, allowing Mu Bai to see the end of the tornado. The white walls were covered with dust and mixed with coagulated blood. Countless gloomy skulls formed an altar. And the sacrifice hanging in the middle is the tornado that Mu Bai regards as a treasure. The hero, known as the most powerful person on Earth, was brutally nailed to a wooden post. Her hands and feet were all cut off, and the reason seemed to be just to get more blood. Looking at the tornado's thin body, Mu Bai's eyes began to turn red, and the blue veins bursting out on his forehead explained his feelings at this time. Who dares to do such a thing? Mu Bai's voice was extremely trembling, and his twitching body was even more difficult to control. I'm sorry. Even though I've investigated more than 10,000 times, I still can't detect the details. Blasting responded regretfully. What does this mean? Don't you have the ability to travel through time and space? Mubai couldn't understand the other's answer. Yes, I have this ability, but the strength of squares is much higher than me. All the pictures of the process of this disaster have been sealed by some special ability. Even if I stayed in that period of time, every time I returned to the present stage, my memory would be lost. Demolition's answer was hopeless, without a hint of exaggeration, and after Bai heard it, he no longer continued to entangle. In fact, after he saw the tragic situation of the tornado, this guy has already made up his mind. He wants to change this situation, even if it is an enemy of God. Okay, since it's like this, let's stop the topic. I know what to do. Mu Bai, who was fed up with the scene in front of him, asked for the explosion to bring him back to the original world. And after really sensing the other party's thoughts, there is no hesitation in blasting. With the reappearance of a white halo, the two returned to the dark room, but the atmosphere between them was very heavy. Are you in a good state? Blasting asked worriedly. He was very afraid that Mu Bai would become negative. Hey, don't worry, I'm just a little angry. If there is nothing else, please allow me to leave first. Okay, you must have your own plans. If there is any new discovery during this period, I will contact you individually. No problem. After the two finished their conversation, Mu Bai left the ark without looking back. At this moment in the guy's mind, all the puzzles are not as good as the person he wants to see. A burst of red halo flickered, and Mu Bai returned to his home. He did not cover up the whole process, just to be able to see the tornado at the first time. Hey, what have you been doing, mysterious? Looking at Mu Bai who suddenly appeared, Tornado asked pretending to be angry. But unlike her, Mu Bai's eyes had ripples at the moment. He stared at the tornado intently. The more he concentrated, the heavier the accumulated emotion, until it broke out completely. Tornado, I will always be with you. Mu Bai suddenly said love words, and immediately took his beloved wife in his arms. At this time, the petite tornado was like a cat, and no matter how she resisted, she couldn't break free from Mu Bai's arms. Hey, what's wrong with you? Suddenly doing this kind of thing? Tornado began to worry. After all, Mu Bai had never shown such a state. Tornado, I saw it exploded. What? As soon as he heard about his childhood savior, Tornado was suddenly a little excited. But just when she wanted to ask what was going on, Mu Bai suddenly increased the strength of his arms. He firmly pressed the tornado against his chest, as if he was carrying a piece of beautiful jade, and he didn't want anyone to approach it. The fit between the skin makes the dragon roll feel the emotions of Mu Bai. She used her mind to try to understand the husband in front of her. Tornado, please let me be quiet for a while. I just want to hold you like this, okay? Mu Bai's sudden confession made Tornado give up his original plan. She, who has always been arrogant and savage, began to stroke the other's back with her slender palms. At that moment, the body temperature of the two began to blend, and a brief feeling of happiness replaced all anxiety and suspicion. After some unknown time, Mu Bai's mood finally calmed down. He slowly let go of his arm, and then revealed the truth to Tornado with a solemn expression. I saw the blast and he saw the future. What kind of future? Earth has been invaded, and eccentrics and heroes have become the past. At some point in the future, mankind will be plunged into endless darkness and panic. Then we have nothing to do. Mu Bai was speechless for a while. He didn't want to recall the tragic situation of the tornado, so he continued to communicate with the other party in a side-by-side way. It's irreversible, at least completely unstoppable without precaution. That's what the blasting said too. That's right, that's actually what he told me. Then why did he tell you that? Because no one will believe this, and no one will work hard for it. After Mu Bai said the last sentence, his eyes became much more determined. Compared with other things, the death of the tornado alone is enough to make him put all his energy into it, and it may be that blasting has this aspect, and will have an intersection with Bai. After listening to her husband's answer, Tornado no longer doubted the authenticity of the content. But only one thing, she still couldn't hold back. You want to know the whereabouts of blasting, right? Mu Bai saw the tornado's thoughts, and said it directly for the other party. Yes, is he still there? Tornado asked tentatively. Blasting has already left, but he will definitely contact me. I will take you there with me when the time comes, and thank that guy. Mu Bai's response made Dragon Roll very happy. She stepped on the ground excitedly, like a naughty white rabbit. On the other hand, some people are happy and some people are sad. Just when Tornado felt lucky for himself, a silver-haired young man was surrounded by several monsters with a tiger level. They kept beating him, but they didn't touch the key points, as if they were deliberately playing with each other. Haha, this idiot, do you really think we will let that woman go? A weirdo with a lobster head began to talk nonsense, and another guy with a lion's head also immediately echoed. In front of this group of weirdos, human beings are defined as playthings. They have no reverence and no compassion at all. Only when human beings make a shrill scream, they can feel the most extreme excitement. And this morbidly distorted feeling is also the source of the eccentric people's strength. The silver-haired young man actually didn't know the woman in the strange man's mouth. He was just passing by, without the slightest idea of a hero saving beauty. And now the reason why it has become very embarrassing is because of the despicableness of the weird people. In fact, as early as the beginning, the silver-haired youth had an absolute advantage. His fighting ability is very strong. If he is a hero to join the association, he must at least be ranked in the top 5. But unfortunately, he was finally defeated by despicable tricks. Seeing that the victory and defeat were already decided, several eccentric men who acted aggressively directly controlled the woman and threatened the other party's life. The appearance of such a situation made the silver-haired youth very passive. He couldn't do one-shot kills, so he could only do his bidding, hoping that the strange people could abide by the agreement. However, the evil of weirdos has no bottom line. Seeing that the silver-haired youth begins to be in a trance, they also reveal their true nature. A strange man with a lion's head tore the woman's body into 2 pieces without hesitation. Blood and internal organs spurted out, and the green grass was instantly reddened. At that moment, the eyes of the silver-haired youth began to be distorted, and his brain also fell into a state of shutdown. Yeah, it's really stupid enough. I would actually believe the words of those weirdos. And that girl, she can only be considered unlucky and shouldn't be in this place. However, she seems to be getting married tomorrow, and her parents from the countryside are rushing to this place. It seems that her hometown is still barren, and the old couple put all their savings on this daughter. She seems to have a husband who loves her very much. Although she doesn't know what he is doing, judging from her expression, she must be a very warm person. The above contents are all conjectures of the silver-haired youth. He doesn't know the woman who was murdered at all, so how can he control the situation? His real purpose is actually to find an excuse for himself. He has to explain his powerlessness and add more bricks to his cognition. Hey, I think it's time to get rid of this guy as well. The lobster-headed weirdo suggested to the rest of the comrades. For a moment, he felt the chills, so out of prudence, he wanted to quickly get rid of the hidden danger. You're right. Although that idiot can't move, he always gives people a strange feeling. It's better to solve it as soon as possible. The rest of the eccentrics agreed, and showed their weapons one after another. In this world, only power is the truth, and hypocrisy can only bring misfortune to people. Suddenly from the self-enclosed world, the young man who found a ray of light suddenly stood up. Although his injuries are very serious, and blood has covered his body. However, after recomprehending the true meaning, his whole person's state has undergone a shocking reversal. Not to mention the physical changes, the cold light in his eyes is enough to make the weirdos stay away. This guy is really unusual, I think it's better to forget it. A relatively timid weirdo said tremblingly. F*K. Do you think you will let him in us leave? Don't think about those impossible things, and kill this guy together is the right way. The lion-headed monster expressed his opinion, but in the next second, his head was blasted into pieces, and his entire body was completely dissected. And the guy who did this was naturally the silver-haired youth. He found the woman's head in the other's esophagus, held it in his arms, and then shouted loudly to the surrounding. My name is Hungry Wolf, the guy who sent you to hell, remember this name for me. After speaking, the Hungry Wolf got up. His actions were exaggerated and his attacks were extremely rude. Every eccentric person who was defeated will appear to be incomplete. If anyone's head can still be left on the body, it is simply smoke from the ancestral grave. After a few minutes, the blood dyed the surrounding lawn completely red, and the foul-smelling internal organs could be smelled by people from 100 meters away. The Hungry Wolf, whose body was covered in blood, left without looking back. He put the woman's head back next to the corpse, silently said, I'm sorry, and disappeared into the tree-lined path. The screen rotates. Knowing the future, Bai must form a team that belongs to him in advance. And the guys who can be called combat power by him now are only Saitama and Genos. In order to let the other party fully understand the horror of the end times, he intends to gather the two of them together and give a unified explanation. As for the choice of location, it is naturally the dilapidated residence of Saitama. Ding dong. The bell rang, but there was no answer for a long time. This made Mubai a little distressed, so he simply used chaos magic, and let his body achieve the effect of penetration. However, after sneaking into Saitama's house, Mubai was dumbfounded by the scene in front of him. One side of the wall was completely pierced, and Saitama and Genos were also missing. No one is really stupid enough to take the initiative to trouble the bald head? Although Mubai was a little surprised, he still took the initiative to investigate in order to verify the truth. The continuous development of chaos magic has brought him to a peak level. With the appearance of the red magic element, a void phantom came into view. In the picture in front of you, you can clearly see the silhouettes of Saitama and Genos. At this time, the two were discussing the issue of product discounts and want to find the most suitable store. This bald man is really boring. What the hell is Genos thinking? After a rant, Mubai began to speed up the rotation of the picture, and it was not until the third minute that he saw the picture he wanted to know. The attack without warning destroyed the wall, but the surrounding neighbors were not affected at all. Such a strange way aroused Mubai's curiosity. Like Saitama and others, he hurriedly came to the gap. At this time, standing on the street was a strange man in full armor. Judging from his equipment, it should be on the same level as Genos. Good guy, really someone is not afraid of death. Mubai sneered and closed the scene in front of him. Then, the chaotic magic was used to extract the remains of the energy left by Saitama and others, and began to track. The screen turns. The galloping Mubai found Saitama and Genos in a wilderness where the grounds had been extensively damaged, and the remains of the enemy were scattered all over the place. Mubai landed slowly, walked quickly to Saitama and asked, "Is the person who attacked you a weirdo?" Saitama glanced back at Mubai, but the content of the answer was that the donkey mouth was not the horse's mouth. "It's over. The salary I just got is going to subsidize the house and repair it. Do you think the Hero Association can compensate me?" "Master, as an S-rank hero, I can tell you responsibly that you will not be compensated," Genos responded firmly. "Huh? Why is this? Isn't this a work-related injury? Think about it, there should be a special response organization in the association?" Saitama's state is a little unstable, obviously the money in his pocket is inversely proportional to his strength. "Saitama, calm down, we can find a solution to the money issue, don't panic." Mubai couldn't stand it any longer and was ready to lend a helping hand. But just when Saitama looked at him expectantly, Mubai remembered a key issue, that is, he has no money. Although Mubai lives in a mansion and his wife is a well-known superhero, he is still struggling to make money. I suddenly remembered something," Mubai said a little embarrassedly. "What's the matter? To tell you the truth, I don't have any money either." "Huh? How is that possible? Don't you have a best-selling comic?" "It's true, but I sold the copyright not long ago, and the money I got in exchange was handed over to Dragonroll, and it's a bit of a loss for me to ask her to ask for it." Saitama was disheartened by Mubai's answer, but it was not a dead end. Just when Saitama was downcast, Mubai turned his attention to Genos. "Genos, if you are so rich, let's lend some to your master first." As soon as Mubai finished speaking, Saitama immediately looked at Genos with joy. "Mr. Mubai, I do have some savings, but like you, I have invested in myself." As soon as Genos finished speaking, he tore off his clothes, and a brand new set of titanium alloy armor was directly reflected on Mubai's face. "This is an upgraded version specially created for me by the doctor, which has emptied all my savings, so I will discuss with the master, which convenience store has more discounts." Genos' stern answer made Mubai a little embarrassed, and Saitama, who was the most tragic, didn't even have the strength to speak. The only thing he can do now is to vent on the wreckage in front of him, cursing the other party as insane. Why did he choose to attack his family? "Boss, have you seen it all? This bald head is really unusual. I didn't expect that all tiger-level monsters would be killed by him in one blow." In a dark underground space, a woman was sitting in front of a computer screen, and standing beside her were a group of monsters with fierce appearance and strong strength. This point has finally been confirmed, although a tiger-level cell has been sacrificed, it is still a gain. The woman spoke lightly and began to shake the red wine in the glass. But just when she was about to taste it slowly, a bad news suddenly came. "Boss, it's not good. 3 more tiger-level monsters have died." "What?" The woman couldn't continue to remain calm. She suddenly turned the seat and looked at the strange person in front of her with a serious face. "You make it clear. What's going on?" "The lobster monster, the Lion King, and the fly spirit all died in the suburbs, and the corpses looked miserable, like an act of revenge. The report of the situation made the woman very angry. She dropped the wine glass in her hand and stood up directly from the seat. "Take me to the scene immediately, I want to get first-hand information." At the request of the woman, a huge earthworm monster rose from the ground. He opened his huge mouth, and the saliva alone was enough to make the appliances in the room float, which shows how exaggerated his body size is. "Lord Sykes, do I need to bring you a group of guards?" The odd man with only one eye on his head asked earnestly. "No, I don't want to make too much noise. Human activities have been very intensive recently. You should pay attention to reducing the time for activities, so as to plan for the future." Sykes, wearing a gold frame, looked extremely wise. Except for her anger at the beginning, the rest of the time, it will give people a cold and charming feeling. After ordering the good things, Sykes came to the scene of the incident, accompanied by the worm monster. The environment there is very well preserved, without the slightest trace of being moved. "Go and find out if those guys have the enemy's breath. I want to grasp the whereabouts of the other party, and I can't let these idiots die in vain." After receiving the order, the worm monster started to act. Through his unique smelling organ, he observed the pile of meat puree. "Lord Sykes, these guys have a strong human taste on their bodies. Could they be those from the Hero Association?" The worm monster captured the hungry wolf's pheromone, but didn't guess his identity. "The Hero Association is a possibility, but what I care more about is the culprit. I will improve your ability and give me a good track of each other." Sykes pulled out an object the size of an apple core, which, in appearance, looked like the heart of some kind of bird. "Lord Sykes, are you really going to help me level up?" The worm monster was very happy. "Of course, but in return, I hope you can find the damn guy." "No problem, that's what I'm supposed to do." The two ended the conversation, and Sykes put the object in his hand into the body of the worm monster. The fusion of blood caused the opponent's body to undergo great changes. The originally huge body turned out to be only the size of an ordinary human being. However, although the size is reduced, the ability to get a qualitative leap. The earthworm monster, who had completed the advanced step, immediately knelt down in front of Sykes, and said faithfully, "Dear Sir Sykes, thank you for cultivating me. I will definitely live up to my trust." After the military order was issued, the eccentric used his abilities. The pores on his skin began to expand, and the lavender gas was emitted from the body. It didn't take long for the sky above the pile of meat to be completely enveloped by a mysterious purple aura, and a few seconds later, a cloud of blue gas visible to the naked eye appeared. "Lord Sykes, do you see that blue mist? Don't be weird." "Saw, yes." Sykes replied blankly. "That's the pheromone on the prisoner. As long as we follow the direction of the mist, we can find that guy." "Very well, without further ado, we will act immediately." The two hit it off, and followed the action trail of the hungry wolf and launched a hunt. On the other hand, the seriously injured hungry wolf, in order to avoid attracting the attention of passers-by, specially selected some remote country trails to move. And because of the unbearable body and road, his movement speed is not very fast. He was unable to get out of the valley until 2 hours after the incident. "Lord Sykes, look at that silver-haired man, he should be the murderer." The group of weirdos who ran all the way finally caught up with their target. And out of the psychology of punishment, Sykes directly ordered his worm monster to attack the hungry wolf. With an order, it is no wonder that people have no shirk. He was full of confidence that he could easily kill the hungry wolf after being promoted to the level of Jackie Chan. But who would have thought that when this guy appeared in front of the hungry wolf, the first person to suffer a fatal blow was this earthworm monster? One, it's annoying enough," the hungry wolf whispered, but the exhausted body still burst out with huge kinetic energy. His back muscles began to emerge, and his curled body was no different from a wild lone wolf. "Go to hell." The hungry wolf came out with a high movement speed of over, which was already beyond the scope of the earthworm monster's vision, and the other party's own dynamic vision ability was not strong enough. Therefore, when the hungry wolf attacked, the earthworm monster didn't notice it. Of course, this unawareness is only reflected in the visual aspect. "What the F***K did you do to me?" The earthworm monster with holes all over his body showed a look of fear for the first time in his life's journey. "What? You don't need to know anymore." The hungry wolf smiled, and when he turned around and smashed it, he actually protected the opponent's neck into a twist. The death of the worm monster was unexpected by Sykes. Although that guy does not belong to a unique combat unit, but after all, he has been promoted to the level of the dragon level. A monster of this level, even an A-level hero, would have to spend a considerable amount of time before it could be wiped out. But the hungry wolf in front of him completed the slaughter in a snap of his fingers. "Hey, are you with that guy?" Just when Sykes was suspicious, the hungry wolf suddenly questioned her. "Yes, are you going to fight me?" Sykes asked rhetorically. "No, I have no interest in fighting women, although you are not a good person, I will still let you go." The hungry wolf turned around, afraid that after a little bit of dust, he walked towards the city without looking back. However, his gentleman's behavior just touched Sykes' minefield. Sykes, who has always claimed to be a strong man, hates others to treat him with worldly eyes. "Alright, since you don't plan to take shots, don't blame me." Sykes suddenly turned on his mind, and the shaking ground made Hungry Wolf realize the danger. He turned around immediately and faced Sykes with a prepared attitude, and sighed in his heart that the opponent would actually possess such strength. "There is only one reason for your failure, and that is to underestimate me." Sykes smiled contemptuously, and then clenched his palm. When that action was formed, the ground at the feet of the hungry wolf suddenly changed in shape. The dirt trapped the hungry wolf's ankles and spread upward. The hungry wolf, like a poured sculpture, became immobile. In a short time, 80% of Hungry Wolf's body was shackled, and the only things that were exposed were a pair of palms and a face full of astonished expressions. "Hey, now do you think I'm still not an opponent?" Sykes said with a smile, and stroked Hungry Wolf's cheek with his slender palm. Her movements are very provocative, and it is difficult for any male to escape from that charming feeling. "Look carefully, your face is really good, if I just kill you like this, I'm really reluctant." Sykes is still me, in her eyes, the other party is the prey that she can dispose of at any time. On the other hand, the hungry wolf, although he was a little panicked a second ago, but after adjusting his mentality, he found a solution. "Girl, I also think you're pretty, but you're playing with fire, you know?" Hungry Wolf responded with the same playful tone. "Oh. Then I'm really looking forward to it. How will you break the status quo?" As soon as Sykes finished speaking, the hungry wolf started to act. A blue breath suddenly emerged from his palm, accompanied by ultra-high frequency shaking. As the hungry wolf's behavior continued, Sykes began to look a little embarrassed. But before she could take any measures, the other party actually broke free from the bondage. The ultra-high frequency shaking made it difficult for the mud on the hungry wolf's body to adhere. After it fell off completely, the hungry wolf immediately grabbed Sykes' side and put it on the opponent's neck. "You're dead, if I will." The hungry wolf whispered in Sykes' ear, and the weak air made Sykes a little cancerous. "You bastard, it really pissed me off." Sykes, who had a red star on his face, was unwilling to admit his defeat. But she herself hadn't noticed that her feelings towards Hungry Wolf at the moment were more than just hatred. Sykes, who was a little embarrassed, burst out with all his abilities. She sealed the air around the hungry wolf's body, making it a short-lived vacuum environment. In the absence of oxygen, even a powerful expert like Hungry Wolf can only obey obediently and become without resistance. HMPH, arrogant guy. This time you know what it's like to fail. Sykes looked at the Hungry Wolf with a proud face, but with the change in the Hungry Wolf's facial expression, she gave up the pursuit of that guy. "Hey, if you still want to become stronger, just swallow this seed. As for the consequences, you should understand." Sykes took out a strange seed from his chest. But compared to the previous color, the brilliance this seed radiated was extremely dazzling gold. After dropping the seed, Sykes left. She was also confused about her behavior afterwards, but fortunately, the woman's ambition was very strong. Any emotion that can distract her will be corrected very quickly. Looking at the frustrated Hungry Wolf, after he got a normal breathing environment, he firmly grasped the seed, and after a brief thought, swallowed the unique monster product. "I won't fail again, no one can beat me." The obsessive Hungry Wolf rushed towards the city again, and at the same time Node, Mubai, Saitama and others also returned to the latter's home and assessed the damage on the site. "Teacher, for damage of this magnitude, at least a repair cost of around 100,000 is required, right?" Gino's evaluation report pierced into Saitama's chest like a sharp cone. When he heard the number, a strong dull feeling directly enveloped his whole body. Saitama, who was almost suffocated, said to Gino's with a sullen expression, "Are you sure this is the cheapest price?" "Yes." Gino's responded decisively, but he didn't know that the seriousness was enough to cost Saitama his life. "Ah, Mubai, I don't want to live anymore. Why is God always targeting me like this? Can't I just be a hero quietly?" Saitama's cry made Mubai feel a little overwhelmed, but he always found the weakness of this bald head. Unexpectedly, The most powerful existence in this world would actually bow down for 5 buckets of rice, which shows how terrifying the power of money is. Saitama, everything has 2 sides. Don't be so discouraged. I can help you with the money issue, but before that, I have one very important thing to tell you. Important thing? Saitama's eyes were suddenly serious, and the playful catharsis just now stopped abruptly. Yes, in the next period of time, the Earth will face a major crisis, and I saw the end through the method of time travel. What kind of ending? The situation was very bad. The Earth fell completely, heroes and eccentrics were brought down. Tornadoes were sacrificed, and you were nowhere to be seen. Mu Bai's words made the atmosphere of the scene suddenly drop to freezing point. Saitama remained silent, and Genos was thinking hard. After a period of time, Saitama, who has always been nervous, suddenly said with a serious face, "Is it possible to change that ending?" Mu Bai responded, "Theoretically yes, as long as we start preparations now, the timeline can be changed. It feels like editing a video, and through constant manipulation, the end of the story can be replaced." After the words, Saitama immediately took a stand. He is going to practice in the deep mountains to improve his level, and as his fan brother, Genos naturally does his part. Especially when he heard that Saitama was also going to practice, this guy's excitement was directly expressed. "Master, are you really going to practice?" Genos said excitedly. "Yes, do you want to be together?" Saitama answered calmly. "Of course. That's exactly what I was looking for." It is rare for the 2 masters and apprentices to unify their opinions, and Saitama's emotions have already been aroused by the challenges in the future. Since sitting on the invincible throne, Saitama has been suffering from no opponent at all. He is actually a very enthusiastic person, but the constant frustration of reality has finally led to his current dangling. But time is not as good as in the past. Now that the future outcome is known, it is obviously in line with Saitama's true character to challenge again as a practitioner. Mu Bai, thank you for telling you about me. The long-lost feeling of blood makes me feel like I have a new life. As for the maintenance of the house, I will get rid of you. Saitama spoke righteously and left the house without hesitation, and Genos, who followed closely, also had a serious look on his face. Looking at the hot-blooded backs of those 2 guys, Mu Bai felt a hint of comfort in his heart. But not long after that, he suddenly realized the crux of the problem. FCK. I seem to have been teased until then. It was not clear to Mu Bai why Saitama was so impatient. The real reason was that Mu Bai assured him that he could provide money for house repairs. These 2 bastards, Saitama and Genos, actually took advantage of me. Mu Bai, who looked like he was eating marks, squatted in place with remorse. Looking at the hole with the height of a person, the thoughts in my heart are as cold as the bleak autumn wind. Where are you going to make money? Thoughtfully, Bai began to look around. In fact, he could have spoken to his wife Tornado, and the amount of 100,000 yuan could be easily credited. But since the man's words are out of order, since the money has been handed in, it is obviously an insult to his dignity to ask Bai to ask for it. Forget it. Let's think of other ways. It's useless to just tangle. After giving himself some encouragement, Mu Bai walked to the gap. He jumped directly into the road, but he never thought of it. The force just now was the last straw that broke the camel's back. The house that originally had only one side of the gap suddenly shook a lot, and the surrounding neighbors also suffered together. Fortunately, there were no casualties in terms of personnel, but just in terms of the extent of the damage, it is estimated that it will be difficult to calm down if we don't take out 18 million. Ha! Is this hell? Mu Bai's face was astonished. His limbs seemed to have had their bones taken out, and they slumped to the ground limply. The so-called unparalleled blessings, misfortunes do not come singly. Things that could be solved with only 100,000 yuan, after falling on Mu Bai, turned into tens of millions. With such a huge debt scale, Mu Bai had to find a job to earn money. But in this world, apart from winning the lottery, what other chances are there to earn tens of millions of yuan in a short period of time? Thinking of this, Mu Bai's head began to have a headache, and for a long time, he even appeared in a trance state. This can't be done. Don't say what disaster will happen in the future. Just by then, it will soon become a problem. After re-examining the status quo, Mu Bai turned his attention to his work. He read the briefing first, then went to pitch. He didn't intend to let go of any possible opportunity. And just in the middle of his continuous attempts, the news suddenly inserted on the billboard immediately caught his attention. According to the content of the video broadcast, anyone who wins the championship of the competition will receive a cash reward of 300 million yuan. If you can get these, let alone filling the debt, it is not impossible for the salted fish to turn over and become the master. Tour. It's true that God will never kill me. Finally found the hopeful Mu Bai, and went to the registration office of the competition without stopping to register, but when he came to the scene, he was frightened by the scene in front of him. The temptation of the 300 million yuan grand prize is conceivable. Those guys who don't have the ability to fight at all feel that they will be lucky. Seeing the long queue, Mu Bai shrugged helplessly. He silently stood at the end of the queue, allowing his precious time to be wasted in vain. 2 hours later. Finally, it was Mu Bai's turn to sign up, but just when he was going to sign up, the person in charge of the registration said something unacceptable to him. Sir, the deadline has come, and the number of registrations has exceeded the limit. Please actively participate next time. Huh? I waited for more than 2 hours. Do you think I can accept it? Sir, it's not a question of whether you can accept it. The rules are set like this. Please don't make us embarrassed. The person in charge of negotiating with Bai is a dignified middle-aged woman. She was so gentle in her handling of the whole process that Mu Bai didn't even want to continue entanglement. Okay. I'm unlucky, but I hope that when the next event is held, you can notify the people in line in advance, otherwise it will be a waste of everyone's time. Okay. Thank you for your suggestion. Out of apologies, here are some condolences we have prepared for you. I hope you can understand. The woman took out 100 yuan in cash from her wallet. If it was changed to before, Mu Bai would definitely sneer, but for him now, a penny is money. Okay. I've received your message, don't make the same mistake next time. Bai took the 100 yuan cash without hesitation and left the scene. However, behind all these actions, it is actually just his trick. How could Mu Bai give up this game? The so-called understanding is just his tactic to delay the fight. If he used conventional means, he would never have succeeded in the competition. So he intends to retreat into advance, first relax the vigilance of the other party, and then take unconventional means. The screen turned, and it was already sunset at Chishan. After a brief conversation with Tornado, Mu Bai continued to follow the woman in charge of registration until the other party's vehicle stopped at a manor. Good guy, it's really stylish. Looking at the buildings in front of him, Mu Bai couldn't help but exclaimed in awe. In a world with frequent disasters like today, it is still possible to have a manor of this scale, which shows how huge the strength of its owner is. Miss IELTS, here we are. Inside the luxury car, the driver in charge of driving woke up the woman who was closing her eyes and resting. And after hearing about it, the other party didn't hesitate at all. She opened her pearl-like eyes, and after making some adjustments, she pushed open the car door. Put the car on the innermost side. The boss doesn't like to see old-fashioned cars, the woman said, bending over. Okay, you can rest assured. The driver responded immediately and left the scene with a kick of the accelerator, for fear of encountering the boss with strict aesthetics. Ah, I'm going to start working overtime again, and the Roman family's cake has a new product. When can I enjoy it? The female supervisor made a complaint. She thought she would not be heard by others. But what she didn't expect was that Mu Bai suddenly appeared in front of her just before the voice of complaining came to the ground. Sister, so you like to eat cake? Next time I'll bring you some, so you don't have to run back and forth. Mu Bai's sudden voice really startled the female supervisor. She hurriedly turned around, and subconsciously put the folder in her arms. You bastard. How dare you follow me? The strange voice of the female supervisor immediately aroused the vigilance of the guard dogs in the manor. They are all genetically modified creatures, so they have an unusual ability to distinguish sounds. After confirming that there was a hint of danger in the sound, the Doberman-like guard dogs barked immediately. Wong wong, the continuous screams made the atmosphere of the scene become anxious. As an intruder, Mu Bai obviously put himself into an embarrassing situation. But just as he was about to explain, the door of the female supervisor's room suddenly opened. A group of well-built men in black suits rushed to the scene one after another. What is your job? A man with a pager questioned Mu Bai loudly and kept the female supervisor behind him, showing great professionalism. Well, listen to my explanation. I just want to find some accommodation with this sister. Who would have known such a big disturbance would come out? Mu Bai began to laugh, and the embarrassing situation made him sweat. Accommodation? I think you have a bad heart, arrest me. The leading man shouted, and then his subordinates stepped forward one after another. They are a group of well-trained and professional teams. As long as it is the command of the leader, they will obey without hesitation. Wait a minute, now is an extraordinary period, don't make too much noise. Just when everyone wanted to do something, the female supervisor immediately gave a suggestion, and after listening to it, the guards in black did not dare to obey, in exchange for the intention to kill the killer. As for Mu Bai, he could have fought back. But from a legal point of view, it is more or less criminal in nature to follow the young woman Li and sneak into someone else's manor. Out of this consideration, Mu Bai also gave up the idea of fighting back, but stood there obediently, waiting for the opponent's decision. Boy, today is your lucky day. If it were the previous one, we would definitely bury you alive, a guard said triumphantly. I know, so I'm willing to cooperate with you. Mu Bai responded with a smile, and nodded frequently to the female supervisor. IELTS. What should I do with this guy? Drive him away, or? The man wearing a pager asked. Let's get him under control first. In this extraordinary period, we can't have any disclosure. If we make sure that this guy is really okay, then a little compensation can be sent away. Okay. Just do as you said. The man who was obviously the leader turned around. He looked around, and then said to his subordinates, now divide into 2 teams. One team will take this guy to the basement, and the other team will start patrolling the surroundings to see if there is any possibility of accomplices. Yes. Everyone in black shouted in unison, and then began to execute the order. The screen rotates. Mu Bai was taken to the basement by a team, and the layout of the environment there made Mu Bai's eyes shine. Unlike other scenes I have heard of, the basement in front of me is very warm, not only rich in entertainment facilities, but also brewed wine. It is not so much a detention center for detaining captives, as it is a leisure time to make friends. Hey, just sit there. When the boss comes back, he will naturally take care of you. A young man gave instructions, and the there, he said, was actually a remote corner. Okay, but can I tell my family? If I lose contact for a night, it's hard for me to guarantee that guy can do anything. While talking, Mu Bai thought of the angry appearance of Tornado in his mind. If he really let that guy know that he was kidnapped, he would definitely cause a lot of trouble. But it is obvious that it is impossible for the other party to agree to his request, but such an easy seizure is already incredible. To allow Mu Bai to communicate with the outside world at will, it would be an insult to the escort industry. Friend, don't embarrass us too much, we all come out to mess around, what do you think? The youth's answer blocked Mu Bai's thoughts. In order to avoid the escalation of conflicts, he had no choice but to agree. And pray in my heart that the tornado will never do anything. On the other hand, just when Mu Bai was bored, the female supervisor who was in charge of the registration had already made contact with her boss, and with her was the guard head Roger, who had appeared before. How are the preparations for the competition? A man with a deep and dignified voice asked slowly. Go back to the boss, the registration has already been handled. The female supervisor IELTS replied quickly. The site is almost finished, and it will be handed over tomorrow. Roger, the guard supervisor, also echoed. Well, the competition held this time has cost the group a lot of effort. Don't make any mistakes. Is there anything else to report? The boss of the two, as if seeing something wrong, asked the question in a provocative tone. Boss. There is a guy who followed me here, but he has been controlled by Roger. Would you like to take a look? What did you say? After listening to IELTS' answer, the boss's face immediately became very ugly. After seeing that the other party was angry, IELTS and Roger were so frightened that they hurriedly knelt down in front of them and scolded themselves for their incompetence. Stop. Don't do this in front of me, take me over to see that guy now. The boss stood up immediately, and the two in front of him also stood up immediately. As one of the people in charge of this incident, Roger quickly ran to the front and began to lead the way for the boss behind him. Footsteps. In the cool and quiet passage, the three people's strides are very large, and the frequency of rapid displacement is also which can sideways reflect their impatience. But just as Roger pushed open the door, the scene in front of him almost made him succumb to death. Mu Bai, who was supposed to be detained and managed, was actually hanging out with the guards. They were sitting in front of a game console and kept cheering for Bai. Brother. As long as you kill this guy, you will be the first person on the ladder. The sincere support made Mu Bai extremely excited. His operations became more delicate and bold, and the reversal of the attacking angle made the opponent lose ground. But just when everyone was about to witness the brilliance with their own eyes, Roger, the guy who understands style, suddenly unplugged the power and gave a loud scolding. Are you King crazy? Or are you pissing in your head? Sitting with this guy and playing games? The 3 consecutive scoldings made the atmosphere of the scene suddenly awkward. As the main party, Mu Bai stood up very simply to avoid implicated in those guards. My friend, you don't need to be like this. I'm neither a rapist, nor a murderer, nor a commercial spy. So what's the problem with sitting with me and playing games? Facing Mu Bai's response, Roger couldn't hold his face. He had already annoyed the boss behind him, and now he has to be questioned by Mu Bai. In order to get some face back for himself, the head guard actually made the most wrong choice. F***ku. How dare you talk back to me? Roger strode forward and took out the stick from his waist. But just when he was about to wave, Mu Bai, who no longer tolerated it, suddenly launched an interception. Since you don't understand human language, let me teach you well. Mu Bai, who had put the cart before the horse, hit the opponent's chest with an iron mountain. The powerful attack instantly disintegrated all of Roger's mobility. The dull sound was like a warning, which made all the people present in the house become much quieter. I didn't want to make trouble, I just started to protect myself, I hope you can understand. Mu Bai stared straight at Iltz, and glanced at the old man standing in the distance. Just when Iltz was about to respond, the boss behind her responded first. Sir, I believe in your authenticity. Judging from your performance just now, if you want to leave here, I'm afraid the people in this room will not be able to stop you. Hearing the sound, Mu Bai looked over, observed it for a while, and said, That's true. Are you the boss here? The old man laughed, and his amiable appearance was very different from before. You guessed it right, I am the owner of this manor. Bing Bai nodded, and then continued. Sir, please forgive my rudeness, if it weren't for the reason, I would never do such a thing. Huh. Then I want to listen. What do you want from me? It's very simple, I just want to sign up for the competition. Is it really just that? It's absolutely true, if it wasn't for the quota being full, I wouldn't have to come to provoke you at all. Mu Bai's frank answer made the boss happy. As long as the other party is not an enemy who came to make trouble, then everything that happened in front of him could be ignored. Okay, sir, what should I call you? My name is Bai. Okay, Mr. Mu Bai, I have made your request clear. But the company's regulations are the result of the negotiation of the board of directors, and I have no way to change it without permission. What's more, even if you are registered with an exception, can you pay for the registration fee? Registration fee? Yes. Didn't you notice the requirements on the banner? If you want to participate in the martial arts conference, you need 2 additional conditions. One is a recommendation letter from the Martial Arts Association. If you don't have one, you must pay 50,000 yuan. Medical expenses. As soon as this statement came out, Mu Bai was immediately dumbfounded. He patted his forehead helplessly, and then made a low sound from his throat. No, brother, don't mess with me, I just want to participate in the competition. Mu Bai stood helplessly, but he didn't know that at this moment, his negative energy was radiating through his own aura, like a tiger out of its cage, completely suppressing the atmosphere of the scene. The terrifying Mu Bai, although there is no sign of rioting, but his own sense of coercion affected the people present. Although the boss has been in the mall for more than a few years, he has never encountered such an abnormal existence as Mu Bai. In order to avoid any accident, boss immediately changed his attitude. He gave a professional smirk, and then said in a consultative tone, My friend, do you really want to participate in the competition? Mu Bai looked around, and as soon as he heard that things had eased, he immediately calmed down a lot. Yes. Well, since you're so eager, I'll make an exception to use a personal relationship. Come here first today. How about you come to me tomorrow? No problem. After Mu Bai heard the subtext, he went downhill and stopped entanglement. Not long after he left the manor, the angry boss held an emergency meeting. Like a tyrant, he forced all the staff to kneel. Trash. They're all F***king trash. A mere homeless person, you can't even deal with it, how can you keep me safe in the future? Under the severe rebuke from the boss, everyone dared to look up, and the most obvious one was Roger, who was in charge of the inner guard. Although he was seriously injured at this time, under the boss's obscenity, he could only grit his teeth and pray that things would pass quickly. Damn, you bastards, you know how to spend Lousy's money. Fortunately, the tournament was held in time. After everything is over, you can wait to be liquidated. The boss's anger is still high, and the lowly employees are still weak. But just when everyone chose to be quiet, a young woman's voice broke the dull atmosphere. HMPH, you can also get angry with the employees. If you have such a temper, why didn't you fight that homeless man just now? As soon as these words came out, the already depressing scene suddenly became silent. Everyone's eyes looked at the source of the sound in amazement. It was a young woman with fair skin and a good figure. With a pair of bright eyes like stars, waterfall-like hair, it is the perfect embellishment. Xiangling, it's none of your business here, You'd better leave me before I get angry. Boss turned to look at each other, and the momentum exuded from his body was hard to refuse. HMPH, do you think I'm afraid of you? If it hurts me, you should be the one who is really distressed. The girl's answer successfully choked the boss. He took a deep breath, and then turned his attention to the rest of the staff. And at that time, Roger, whose stomach had turned upside down for a long time, still couldn't hold back. He suddenly spit out food from his mouth, with a large amount of bile and trained. When the stench spread in the house, the boss couldn't continue to get angry. Damn, hurry up and deal with it, don't let that guy vomit again. With the issuance of the boss order, the employees ran out of the room like ants on a hot pot, intending to take the opportunity to execute the order to avoid scolding for a while. What a bunch of useless waste. Roger, how are you doing? Looking at the panicked employees, the boss finally put down his body and had a conversation with Roger, the only one present. Back to boss, I'm fine. Roger endured the grief and swallowed the vomit in his esophagus again. But it is conceivable what kind of consequences this delusional operation will bring. Less than 5 seconds after answering the last sentence, Roger spit again, and the scale was stronger than the last time. Damn. Damn. Seeing Roger's modality, the angry boss was also completely disinterested. He turned straight away and spent the night in a bad mood. The next morning, an excited Mu Bai woke up the tornado early. After a brief exchange between the two, the guy left the house and started heading towards the manor where the boss was. Ding dong. Mu Bai rang the doorbell through a formal channel, and the unattended door opened immediately after the sound was obtained. After passing through a green garden, Mu Bai came to the door of the villa. At this time, the boss of the manor, as if looking forward to it, stood there early. Mr. Mu Bai, are you on time? Boss said with a smile. Everywhere. This is what it should be, after all, it is I who asks you. Mu Bai also responded with a smile, not feeling restrained at all. Haha. Mr. Mu Bai is really quick to talk, and I admire your character. Since you also said that you were asking for me, then I will open the skylight with you and speak eloquently. Okay. I know things won't be so simple, so what are the conditions? Mu Bai's expression began to gradually become serious. As long as it was a reasonable request, he could agree. The situation is like this. Roger, who attacked you yesterday, can't move, so I want you to take his place and help me escort someone. The sudden request was unexpected by Mu Bai. He never thought that the other party would let him do that kind of thing. Just when Mu Bai was suspicious, the girl Xiangling who had appeared before came to the crowd. I'm ready. When are we going? Xiangling asked. Looking at the boss, she still didn't show the respect she deserved. You can go now. The boss responded with the same displeased expression, and at the same time glanced at Mu Bai and said, Mr. Mu Bai, if you are willing to accept my proposal, then your matter can be resolved. You consider how's it going? Well, Bai didn't answer immediately. After all, there are some risks here. But just when he was hesitating, the opposite boss planned to unilaterally terminate the transaction. Since Mr. Mu feels embarrassed, then this matter is just. The boss was about to finish his words when Mu Bai stopped him. Wait a minute, I've already thought about it. I can escort this girl, but when? The boss smiled and said, don't worry about this. The martial arts conference will be held the day after tomorrow, and at this time tomorrow, you will almost be able to come back. Okay. Without further ado, let's go now. Are there any accompanying people? Yes, this matter is very important to me, and the escort team will naturally not be vague. As soon as the boss finished speaking, the female supervisor IELTS next to him took out the walkie-talkie and asked all the participants in the room to be touched. Following the arrangement, dozens of unfamiliar faces suddenly appeared inside the huge manor. This group of guys are mercenaries who are completely subordinate to other groups, and in that ranks, Mu Bai also saw several members of the Hero Association. If I remember correctly, those 3 guys should be B-level heroes. Mu Bai began to murmur in his heart. According to the regulations of the Hero Association, all professional heroes who are registered for employment are not allowed to engage in armed activities with remuneration. The 3 guys in front of them obviously violated the regulations of occupational requirements. It was for this reason that Bai began to speculate on the identity of the boss. What kind of influence does he have to drive the heroes to work for him? Mr. Mu Bai, do you have any questions? Seeing that Mu Bai's state was a little hesitant, the boss asked him a question. Yeah, it's nothing, I was just planning the action, so I lost my mind. Mu Bai responded with a laugh, in order to prevaricate the other party. At that moment, a B-rank hero responded with a disdainful tone. HMPH, you don't need to worry about this matter, just drive obediently. Facing the insult from that guy, Mu Bai remained silent, and he would choose to forbear until he accomplished his goal. Okay, I know what to do. After speaking, the escort team was all assembled. The 3 B-level heroes are in charge of the team leader, and Mu Bai's task is to drive the luxury car where Bai Ling is. They set off according to the prescribed route, targeting the capital of D, which Mu Bai had never been to. Inside the car, Mu Bai started chatting with a bodyguard, and Bai Ling, who was sitting in the back row, was full of resentment. She looked out the window for a while, sighed alone for a while, and the emotions she showed were as if she was going to serve a sentence. Send, buddy. Let me ask you something. Mu Bai saw Bai Ling's expression through the rearview mirror, and the burning gossip soul started immediately. What's the matter? Another bodyguard asked. What exactly are we going to the capital of D for this time? This, don't say it, after all, there is a non-disclosure agreement. Well, what's this? It's just small talk, even if you don't tell me, I'll know when I get to my destination. Mu Bai said with a smile, but what he didn't expect was that Bai Ling, who was in the back row, interfered before the bodyguard could continue to refuse. Hey, new guy, just drive your car obediently, don't you know that curiosity will kill the cat? Mu Bai smiled sideways, and immediately replied, I'm really sorry, I've been like this since I was a child, and every guy who wants me to suffer will suffer in the end. Such an answer made the already small space even more oppressive. The bodyguard sitting on the co-pilot was particularly nervous. He stabbed Mu Bai's thigh with his hand, signaling the other party not to annoy Bai Ling, but unfortunately, this guy Mu Bai is also a bit of a head, and he didn't pay attention to the other party's plan at all. Why are you pulling me? I didn't say anything wrong. Mu Bai's strong response completely enthralled Bai Ling in the back row. But just as she was about to scold her, a violent shock suddenly came from outside the car. The loud noise aroused the attention of the escort convoy, and all the personnel with combat capability immediately surrounded Bai Ling. Everyone pay attention to the surrounding vigilance. Anyone who dares to approach can be killed directly. The sudden danger made everyone's emotions become abnormally high. And at that critical juncture, the high-end car that Bai Ling was in automatically triggered the monitoring device. On the top of the black car, a surveillance device sprang up and interacted with the personnel on the scene. Musk, have you encountered any problems? Why did the team suddenly stop? The guy who asked the question was IELTS, the personal supervisor of Boss. Her voice was a little hurried, obviously a little anxious about the situation at the scene. Miss IELTS, the team has been attacked. It seems that our action plan has been exposed. The B-level hero named Musk responded with a serious face. What? Roots leaked. How is that possible? All involved are vetted, and there's almost zero chance of an internal rebellion. IELTS' answer, which immediately caught Musk's attention. He ran to Mu Bai's front, and then hugged him out. This guy is the only new member, and if he is suspicious, he is the most suspicious, Musk said, looking at the surveillance device. Well, this possibility is not ruled out. Please control that guy first, and pay attention to strengthening the guard around him. Rest assured. Okay, as long as the other party dares to show up, I will definitely let them have a good taste of terror. Musk, who looked arrogant, greatly overestimated his own strength. Just before his voice landed, the guys who launched the attack slowly landed from the air. It was a group of super mercenaries wearing combat armor. When the logo with the skull logo appeared, some guys with a little knowledge about it immediately showed a panic. Undead Legion. Why do they appear here? A guard said in a panic, and his words also caught the attention of the B-level heroes. But it is a pity that, before the 3 heroes could ask questions, the army of the undead who came to rob the Tao had already started. These killing machines, which have been cultivated since childhood, can identify the opponent's combat power in a very short period of time. After confirming the identities of the B-level heroes, they started culling in turn. Fresh blood emerged like spring water, and the yellow sand on the desert was completely dyed red. With the fall of the 3 superheroes, the rest of the guards in black also gave up their resistance. Everyone, we have no grudges in the past and no grudges in the near future. We all come out to eat together. There is no need to be so stiff. The man who was the representative of the guards negotiated with a smile. However, given the character of the Undead Legion, how could they possibly accept each other's proposal? Incompetent things, you don't deserve to talk to us at all. With a sarcasm, the leading undead warrior waved the chain blade in his hand. He didn't hesitate in the slightest, and he even felt joy during the entire massacre. Let me tell you the truth. Except for the woman in the car who can survive, the rest of the guys will be dealt with. So I advise you to stop having illusions and quickly pull out your weapons to resist." The leader of the Undead Legion laughed out loud, and his seriousness and self-confidence also successfully aroused the resistance of the guards. In order to survive, the people in black took out the pistols in their arms, but the result was predictable. The tool of the rogue in the market is not the opponent of the war machine after all. A bloodier massacre took place brazenly in the desert. In less than a minute, all those who resisted were brutally torn apart. The blood mist drifted in the air, but facing such a terrifying scene, Bai Ling in the car did not panic at all. That kind of scene seemed to her to be a commonplace meal, not worth mentioning at all. "Boss, there's another guy there, what are we going to do with him?" While scanning the battlefield, a member of the undead army finally noticed Mu Bai in the corner. Because of the misunderstanding that happened before, that guy was lucky to escape. "Idiot. Do you still need to report this kind of thing to me? Of course it killed him." The team leader's answer made the corner of the player's mouth hang high. He is a rookie who has just joined the team, and he has not done practical exercises alone. He felt inexplicably excited at the thought of being able to torture and kill an adult male by himself. However, it is very regrettable that the big words, "die before you start your career," fit perfectly on that guy's body. Just when he was about to attack, Mu Bai suddenly changed his expression. He stepped forward and struck nearly 100 times within a very short distance. "Be a good person in the next life, and the twisted life will end here." Mu Bai's words were a dying prayer for the man. As the voice gradually thinned, the man who was beaten was no longer moving. Seeing that scene happened, the rest of the undead army reacted immediately. Although they like to carry out torture, this does not mean that they will let down their due vigilance. "Everyone pay attention, this guy's strength is not simple, don't come up with playful ideas, you must kill him here." The leader of the Undead Legion issued extremely accurate instructions, and his words and deeds also made Mu Bai more concerned. But before the fight, Mu Bai has one more thing to pay attention to: the surveillance system on the luxury car. "I have to find a way to destroy that instrument, otherwise I won't be able to exert my full strength." Mu Bai muttered in his heart, and he had good reasons for worrying. After all, he is going to participate in the martial arts competition. If the organizer finds out that he has the ability of magic, then it will definitely cancel Mu Bai's qualification for the production competition on the grounds of fairness. This kind of situation is obviously not what Mu Bai wants to see. So before taking action, the first problem he had to solve was to destroy the monitoring system. But just when Mu Bai was thinking about it, the undead army in the distance was taking action. Everyone pay attention and divide into 3 echelons. One team launches a frontal attack, the second team conducts a feint attack, and the third team is responsible for blocking the retreat. With an order, the undead army rushed out. The propulsion device they are equipped with can reach the designated combat area in the shortest time. With the completion of the formation, Mu Bai's situation became slightly awkward. He is like a hare being hunted, and death is only a matter of time. "Brother, when will we start?" a member asked impatiently. The death of the previous team member had no effect on him. "It's now." The command of the action captain made the members of the first team extremely excited. They each took out their chainsaws and launched a general attack on Mu Bai without hesitation. The sound of a roar is enough to make any prey feel terrified. Even a master like Mu Bai has no confidence to fight only with hand-to-hand combat. It's a bunch of troublesome guys, but the problem is finally solved. Facing the menacing slaughter, Mu Bai's sudden smile was imprinted in the heart of the first charge. But when that guy felt the chill, it was already too late. Mu Bai, who was free to attack, grabbed the opponent's arm immediately. He moved the undead to the direction of the car with a back-and-forth motion. As the opponent's body fell, the equipment responsible for monitoring the scene was completely scrapped. As for the IELTS on the other end of the screen, because of the occurrence of this kind of thing, he became restless. "The situation has gotten completely out of control, and I can't let this continue," IELTS said to himself, and then took out his mobile phone. In the address book column, the number printed with the hacker's name was dialed. After a short wait, the other party finally answered the call. At the moment when the voice sounded, IELTS put forward the conditions straight to the point. "Remuneration 5 million, coordinates Dusk Valley, help me find Bai Ling." "Wow. That's no problem, but I've never seen you so flustered." A man with a slightly hoarse voice responded with a smile. "It's a big deal, I can't let my boss down anymore, so you should understand what I mean." "Understood. Understand, you can wait for my good news with peace of mind." The other party hung up the phone, and the tired IELTS also sat back on the sofa helplessly, staring straight at the rotating leaf above his head in a state of daze. The screen rotates. After confirming that the monitoring equipment was completely destroyed, Mu Bai no longer concealed his strength. He turned his body slowly and channeled chaos magic between his hands. When the scarlet light appeared, the mercenaries of the Undead Legion also felt panic for the first time. "What's the matter? Don't you plan to attack again?" Mu Bai sarcastically turned from defense to attack. The sudden burst of collision force instantly tore apart all the obstacles in front of him, and this dimensionality-reducing attack is just the beginning. When the blood of the undead was flowing, Mu Bai suddenly pointed to the sky. A black cloud began to gather in the form of a vortex, and the blood on the ground floated upward. It didn't take long for the dark clouds in the rotating form to turn from black to red, and the entire area over the Dusk Valley turned into a terrifying doomsday scene. The strong wind blows from west to north, and the torrential rain mixed with it acts as an accomplice. Such a strange and capricious scene made the Undead Legions realize the gap in strength. But just when this group of guys were terrified, the guy in charge of the team gave a spiritual boost. "Don't be frightened by the sight in front of you, it's just a trick of the Weather Bureau, and it's not worth mentioning at all." "Oh. Is it really like this?" After Mu Bai listened to the other party's speech, the corners of his mouth rose involuntarily. One of his favorite things in life is slapping the face of ignorant people. The benefit of ignorance is the delay in fear. Inspired, the undead army began to charge towards Mu Bai frantically. Faced with such a foolish act, Mu Bai, this guy, is not merciful. Although he has the title of hero, he will also become extremely decisive when dealing with vicious people. "A bunch of idiots." Mu Bai snorted coldly, and then pointed to the sky. The blood-colored clouds began to surge, and the red mad thunder rumbled even more. Curse. After a roar, the lightning with a radius of 10 meters wide, instantly smashed into of the undead army. Unbelievable power turned the crowd into powder. The gray-white ashes are floating in the wilderness. "Are you still going to continue?" Mu Bai's face was cold and arrogant, his eyes were enough to shock the beast, and he stared straight at the remaining personnel. "What a joke, I don't want to fight with this kind of person anymore." After seeing Mu Bai's strength with his own eyes, some old people with considerable combat experience immediately made a judgment. They gave up their stupid ideas and chose to escape with a normal psychology. However, as the commander-in-chief of this army, the man was unwilling to admit everything in front of him. He fell into distorted paranoia, and he did not allow his subordinates to show timidity. The Legion of the Undead is an existence that shares weal and woe, and no one can betray the organization. The commander-in-chief headed, talking to himself, and after the lines were completely finished, a terrible choice was made. He suddenly turned around and looked at the rest of his men, beheading them all at the speed of lightning and flint, and at the same time pulled out his scarlet heart. "Boss. Why are you?" The members who still had a hint of breath asked questions in confusion, but for him, he could never know the answer. After all the members died violently, the commander-in-chief of the undead army finally revealed his true colors. "Really, I didn't expect that I would be forced into such a dilemma." After some words, the commander-in-chief took off the helmet on his head. What appeared in front of Mu Bai was a strange man with a lizard head. "Huh? So you're a weirdo?" Mu Bai smiled and prepared to fight. "Haha, since you already know my identity, what kind of result will it be? You should know." "Well, I know. It is said that when the kidnappers take off their hoods, it often means that they want to vote. So, do you mean the same?" "That's right, it's a pity that your ability is lost. As a human being, you are already very strong." As soon as the commander-in-chief spoke, his body changed. The dark fog began to gather around him, and those still beating hearts became his food. As the fresh heart was swallowed, this guy's eyes also glowed with black fog, becoming a complete monster. "Huh. It's actually the effect of an oath. I didn't expect a weirdo to use this ability. This is the first time I've seen it." Mu Bai was curious about the scene in front of him, but as his opponent, the commander-in-chief was bored to continue negotiating. "In this world, there are still many things you don't know, but these have nothing to do with you." "Hey." The commander-in-chief instantly activated his body, and the huge explosive power caused the ground to collapse. His speed is really fast, even reaching the effect of breaking the sound. "Go to hell." The huge fist began to fall towards Mu Bai's body. If he was really hit by the opponent, then the word, death, might really be fulfilled. But with Mu Bai's strength, how could the other party get his wish? Just when the other party thought it was about to end, Mu Bai suddenly activated the effect of Zizai Ji Gong. That ability is comparable to the God of Destruction, an existence that the commander-in-chief cannot match. Even the strongest combat unit, Saitama, is impossible to completely confront it. Why did you dodge my attack? What did you do? Looking at Mu Bai, who was constantly dodging, the commander-in-chief's expression changed, and the change of Xin Xing also affected his actions in a disguised form. Hey, you can't be distracted by when you're fighting. Mu Bai smiled and then dived in front of the commander-in-chief. As the distance got closer, the other party immediately felt the breath of death. A huge skeleton appeared behind Mu Bai, and the already reddish climate environment highlights the meaning implied by the skeleton. With your ignorance, go meet your little brothers. As soon as Mu Bai finished speaking, his fist fell on the opponent's head. As for the result, it was self-evident. Looking at the corpses on the ground, Mu Bai's emotions were a little complicated. He's not that bloodthirsty, so it's impossible to take pleasure in it. After all, throwing the corpse here is not a solution. Since the shooting pictures have been left, let these guys return to dust and dust to dust. Mu Bai used the power of chaos magic to create a huge vortex of flames. He cremated all the corpses, including the Legion of the Undead. And just as it was nearing the end, Bai finally remembered something very important. That is Bai Ling, who needs to be escorted, and has disappeared at this time. Damn it. How could I forget that eldest sister? If there is no way to deal with this, I will be busy working in vain. Thinking of this, Mu Bai immediately increased the temperature of the flame. After a few seconds of roasting, all the corpses turned into white ashes. After dealing with this matter, Mu Bai floated in the sky. He first removed the bloody weather environment, and then used his perception ability to search for Bai Ling's position. There is. After some effort, Mu Bai saw Bai Ling's figure in a hill. It's just that there are surprises that Bai Ling seems to have encountered new troubles at this moment. A group of unfamiliar men surrounded Bai Ling, although from the point of view of their behavior, they did not intend to be violent. But if you observe it from Bai Ling's point of view, it will cause a lot of trouble. This woman is really troublesome. Why are there so many people hunting her? Mu Bai muttered helplessly, but the task that should be performed still needs to be performed. The rotation of the screen, the perspective switched to Bai Ling's body. Who are you? Facing the stranger who suddenly appeared, Bai Ling asked with a panicked face. Her performance at this time was very different from the past, and the arrogance she had shown before was gone. Miss Bai Ling, we are from the hacker group, and it was Miss IELTS who asked us to come here, so you don't have to worry. As soon as she heard the word IELTS, Bai Ling's expression not only did not show joy, but she was very depressed. She turned and started to run away, unwilling to go with the other party. But behind these abnormal behaviors, the hacker group will not be confused. They are a group of private guards who only know how to execute orders. To a certain extent, they are not much different from the Legion of the Undead. Number 2. Bai Ling asked the young lady to calm down. Maybe she was too shocked and didn't know how to contact us. A man in a white top hat gave instructions to another guy with a smiling face mask. Okay. The masked man known as No 2 Inches started his action after agreeing. He quickly moved behind Bai Ling, and used a body immobilization technique to make him unable to move. Miss Bai Ling, please don't make it difficult for us. Everyone is for work, please be considerate of each other. The masked man's voice was soft. If it was just from the way of doing things, the hacker group's handling method was slightly stronger than that of the undead army. However, just when several people were planning to take Bai Ling away, Mu Bai also arrived at the scene. He suddenly fell from the sky, and the smoke and dust produced when he landed directly reduced the visibility of the scene to about half a meter. Hey, who are they? Mu Bai asked Bai Ling a question, but the other party could not answer. You're talking. What about your original energy? Mu Bai didn't see the clue for a while, so he mistakenly thought that the other party was frightened. FCK, it turned out to be a fixation technique, no wonder he kept posing there. After a little observation, Mu Bai finally reacted. He used the shattering effect of chaos magic to remove the spell on Bai Ling's body. After regaining her freedom, Bai Ling immediately made a request to Mu Bai. Please, take me out of here, I don't want to go back to that place again. As soon as Bai Ling said this, Mu Bai was immediately dumbfounded. Although the contact time with the other party is not very long, in his impression, the other party does not seem to be a person who can say such words. Such a huge contrast makes Mu Bai doubtful, but Mu Bai would never have been able to agree to it in such a vague way. Sister, I was confused by you. What exactly do you want me to do? Mu Bai asked blankly. Am I not being clear enough? Take me out of here, I don't want to go back. But if I do, my mission will not be completed, and it will not do me any good. Forget it. I shouldn't count on you people. Bai Ling turned around angrily, and under the cover of smoke, she began to move in an unknown direction. But as far as the current situation is concerned, the hackers who are also very capable of fighting will not let the chaotic situation continue. A guy with the ability to fight the wind blew the floating dust away with the strong wind. When the line of sight became clear again, the hacker team composed of 5 people immediately exercised control over Bai Ling. Miss Bai Ling, please don't make us embarrassed anymore. People's patience is limited. Although we have business dealings with your company, it doesn't mean you can do anything wrong.